Einstein spent the last 30 years of his life searching for a unified theory of forces. He never found it. Wave physics proposes that the answer was already in the mathematics, articulated by Hermann Minkowski in 1908, and hiding in plain sight ever since. The key is mass. Mass is not an intrinsic property of matter. It is a geometric property of the membrane. When the membrane is deformed, the volume of that displacement is mass. But that same displacement has a slope at every point around it. That slope is the electric field. Mass and the electric field are not two separate phenomena that happen to coexist. One is the integral of the displacement. The other is its derivative. They are two ways of measuring the same object. When mass is extruded from the membrane, it leaves a tension deficit in the surrounding substrate. For a single atom, the effect is negligible. For a celestial body, the cumulative deficit becomes a field of reduced tension extending outward from the mass. That field is gravity. It too is a direct consequence of the same displacement that constitutes the mass. That same displacement produces a second effect whenever it moves, and this one doesn't need a celestial body to add up. Any mass in motion down to a single displaced patch will show it. As the displacement moves, its leading face pushes on the membrane ahead of it, creating greater tension in that zone. At what could be called the stern of the moving object, a zone of lower tension is created by the movement. The tension in the membrane flows around the moving object to equalize the pressure from front to rear. The lateral spread of that flow is the magnetic field, not a separate phenomenon, but the membrane's response to a moving displacement. Mass, electric field, gravity, magnetic field. All four are geometric expressions of the same thing: a displacement in the membrane and its relationship to the surrounding substrate. Every displacement in the membrane carries either one or two kinds of mass, which add up to its inertial mass. For stable matter, some of it is permanent. The shape holds even when the object sits perfectly still. Call that rest mass. The remainder is temporary. It exists only because the object is moving, and it fades the moment the motion stops. Call that dynamic mass. Add the two together and you get the object's full inertial mass, the total mechanical load it places on the membrane at any given moment. We call the relationship between these the energy triangle. Picture a right triangle. One leg is the rest mass, a measure of what the object is. The other leg is the motion of that mass through the membrane, a measure of what the object is doing. The membrane has exactly these two independent sources of energy, out-of-plane displacement and in-plane translation. So the two legs are as geometrically independent as any two legs of a right triangle. The hypotenuse is the total energy, the combination of both. Gravity, we've seen, is a tension gradient, and that gradient acts specifically on the motion leg, pushing inertial mass toward regions of lower tension. For a knot, this means acceleration. Dynamic mass accumulates and the motion leg grows, so the energy of gravitational motion is not separate from the object's mass. It is that leg. Radiation cannot accelerate, since it is already moving at the membrane's maximum rate, but the same gradient still acts on it by bending its path, the mechanism behind gravitational lensing, so the motion leg turns even where it cannot grow. Either way, the energy that initiates the motion comes from the membrane. Magnetism works the same way. The tension flow around a moving displacement acts on that same motion leg, which is why a magnet's internal ripples, not its bulk position, are what generate the field. Inside a permanent magnet, ripples circulate endlessly in a closed loop, and it is that internal motion that produces the surrounding tension flow. That force acts specifically on a moving displacement, which is to say on dynamic mass, so the effects of magnetism, like gravity, are reflected in the motion leg itself. The electric field connects both legs. It is the slope of the displacement of mass, present wherever mass is present, the slope of the rest mass on one leg, and the slope of the mass in motion on the other, whether or not that displacement has any rest mass at all. Einstein was looking for a principle that would show why these forces are related. The principle is this: all four forces are the membrane's response to a single geometric object, a displacement, measured in different ways, at different scales, and under different conditions of motion. The energy triangle is the relationship that holds them all. In the next video, we will discuss chemical bonding.